welcome to Let's Play Gran Turismo 3 episode 93, and we are now going to get on with endurance event number 3 in this game, which is the Seattle 100 miles. And well, I'm not going to use a car from my garage in this event because, well, most of the muscle cars I have in my garage I've already used, and the Viper GTSR, that would just be overpowered, so I'm not going to risk that being a problem. So instead, I'm going to head over to the car dealer, and think, since I've driven most of the muscle cars in this game, I'm going to head over to Chevrolet, and think, since I've driven most of the cars in this game, I'm going to be different, and I'm going to buy myself the Corvette Gran Sport. Yep, okay. So, yeah, let's buy the Corvette Gran Sport, just because I fucking want to. And let's now get some tuning on this thing, because I would imagine tuning is probably going to be one thing I may need. So, gotta put on the port polish, and I'm also gonna put on the racing chip, just so that I've got a little bit more horsepower, and I'm also going to put on the super slick tyres, and well, just for the hell of it, I'm going to put on stage 1 of weight reduction as well. And just because I want to, I'm also going to put on a different set of rims compared to the ones I'm currently using, and let's have a look. Got quite a few available here, but I think I'm gonna go for the first ones in stock, and hopefully that should be everything we need. Alright, let's head down to the endurance event, and oh, there it is. So it is time for the Seattle 100 miles. 40 laps around this circuit like I was at Apricot Hill, except for saying this time we get 150 grand if we can win this event. So, just because I don't want to waste too much of your time, I'm just gonna head straight into the fucking event. And this is our competition. So we have a Shelby Cobra, even though I'm pretty sure he will not be a contender, because he will probably have the grippiest tyres. Other contenders we have in this race are the Ford Mustang, a Corvette Z06, another Corvette GS, and a Chevy Camaro Z28. So, just gonna remove the driver aids because I don't need them, and just gonna check and see if I've got all the tuning I need. Yes, I do. And don't need to check the weight reduction, so yeah, let's get to it. For 40 laps of Seattle, let's go. And this time my microphone is switched on, unfortunately. And already diving down the inside of my fellow Corvette GS, and already the Camaro Z28 was not wanting me to overtake him. But again, it's fine because I will officially pass him in just a matter of seconds. And well, the Cobra has taken the lead early, but I'm pretty certain he will not be a contender, or not a serious contender, because he will have to pit in every, like, oh fuck me, every 2 laps. And I think it will basically just be the same sort of strategy that I had at Apricot Hill, where I'm basically off the pace compared to the AI, but obviously I did some tuning before this event because I anticipated something like this might happen. Although the Cobra is not going to be a major contender because he's clearly on the simulation tyres, and I would imagine since I myself, from personal experience, know how hard the Cobra is on tyres, he will not last very long before he has to pit. And as of which, the Mustang has now taken second position away from the Corvette, and I am now starting to close in on both of these guys. It is Ford that leads Chevy at the moment, as of which obviously I am a Ford supporter in comparison to GM, General Motors. And we are now heading up the hill once again. And the reason why I chose the Corvette Gran Sport as well, because this is a car that I've not used yet in this game, and I pretty much decided this would be the sort of car that I would want to use, and so I just decided I was going to stick with it. And hopefully this will be a much cleaner lap in comparison to the first lap. But I am already closing in on the effective leaders. Doesn't look like they're extending from me too much. I would think it will only be a matter of time before I do manage to make a passing manoeuvre for the lead, as of which the Cobra has already extended himself to a 8-second lead, but that will not hold because he is already in the pits. So I'm going to suspect he's running on simulation tyres, but he could be running on sport tyres because I know precisely how much of a tyre trumper the Cobra really is, and I know that from personal experience because I've driven the Cobra and yet somehow won with it. If you have seen one of my previous segments in the professional league, but looks as though it is a three-way fight at the moment. The Ford Mustang leads the Corvette Z06 and my Corvette GS, and just hit the wall a little there, but won't be long before I do manage to make a passing manoeuvre for the lead, methinks. And so furthermore, it says on the number plate the year this car was made, 1996. And I'm pretty sure this model is the Gen 4 Corvette, because the style basically dates back to the 80s. With the style of the Corvette, the early 80s I might add, before they eventually redesigned it. And I am slowly closing in on the leaders, because I am now only 2 seconds behind the Mustang, and I would imagine it is only a matter of time before I do manage to close in on the leaders. And I am steadily closing in, as which the Corvette is trying to take the lead away from the Mustang, and I am right behind the Corvette now, so the Corvette GS, or at least my Corvette GS, is really a contender at the moment, because obviously I put on some tuning before the event, since I figured that was necessary, and right now I am right behind the leaders. And a little bit of context there with the Z06, but I have now slotted myself up into second position. Oh, fuck me. And I just hit the inside armco, which apparently sticks out. And because this is a city course, wheel-to-wheel contact is pretty much inevitable. Even though I try my hardest not to do it, I still do it anyway, because I've got to fight for my rights. especially if it's out on track, with AI as aggressive as these. And he just dove down the inside of me, and this has allowed the Mustang to take himself up into the lead by 2 seconds, as a result of my scuffle there with the Corvette. So the Mustang at the moment is actually proving to be competitive in this event, and already the Cobra pits in again, because that is how quickly his tyres are going to wear off. Although, fortunately for me at least, I've already driven the Cobra, so I don't need to do that again. But right now, I am really closing up on the Mustang. And even though many of you would have probably suggested that I use the Mustang, the truth is, that's the only Mustang in this game, and obviously, if there were any other makes or models of it, I probably would use it, but unfortunately, that is not the case. However, it looks as though I could very well be a contender for the lead. It could very much be natural aspiration versus supercharger. Who will win as we head down the front stretch and also make a little contact? Dove down the inside. The Mustang tried to get me around the outside. He does also give me a nudge in the process. But officially, that has allowed me to momentarily take the lead as I'm sliding. And somehow I held on to the lead, in spite of me sliding. And it looks as though somebody else is trying to get involved in this fight as well. I'm going to suspect it's the other Corvette GS, because I think the Camaro by now is probably behind the rest of us. I would say he's probably the one that's fighting with the Cobra. Even though I am pretty sure the Cobra will inevitably finish last in this race. Because this is not going to be like Apricot Hill, where I know very well the car that makes the most pit stops eventually winds up finishing second. Because this course does not work that way. And also furthermore, the Cobra compared to all of these muscle cars is literally a fucking monster to drive. And like I said, I know this from personal experience. And at the moment, of course, the Mustang is actually putting up quite a worthy fight compared to the previous events it's been involved in. Although, keep in mind, of course, I did use it for both the amateur Stars and Stripes as well as the professional race of NA Sports, which I eventually managed to win. And overall, and officially it is now a Chevrolet 1-2, as the Corvette has now slotted himself back up into first position. Meanwhile, I am officially leading this thing. So, the gap is now 3.4 seconds to the Z06, and it's also the Z06 C5, I might add, because that is the generation of Corvette for the time. And I don't think it was until 2006 they officially redesigned the Corvette. I mean, I couldn't tell you when exactly the Gen 5 Corvette was released, but I'm pretty sure that is the Gen 5 Corvette, because I'm driving a Gen 4, and this design basically dates back to the early 80s. I think it dates back to like 1981, unless it's 82. Well, I think it was 81 they produced this design, but I don't know for sure until I've officially managed to do the research. But all I can really say now is this race is more or less going like the Roadster Endurance last time out. I eventually managed to take the lead because of the leaders being on the less durable tyres compared to me, and oddly enough, that scrap for second place is still going on. Oh, fuck me. And at the moment, whilst I'm watching that, my concentration is very lackluster. And furthermore, both the Mustang and the Corvette have now pitted in, and as I suspected, it is my fellow Gran Sport that now takes second position. So it is a Corvette Gran Sport 1-2, even though it will only be a matter of time before he too will have to pit in for tyres. Although, at the moment at least, I'm happy to hold on to my position, because I am currently leading this thing. Officially, I can officially say this engine has definitely got some grunt in it. It's really got the grunt of what the Corvette should sound like. With this pretty much 350 horsepower V8 motor, as some Americans would call it. The V8 motor is precisely what this is, and yep, my fellow Corvette does come into the pits after 8 laps of driving, and officially that is going to allow the Mustang to retake second position ahead of the Corvette Z06, and then it is the Corvette GS in who rejoins now in 4th position after 8 laps of driving on that first stint. The Chevy Camaro is now up to 5th position, and the Cobra, because he's going to be pitting in every 2 laps and will definitely not be a contender for this race, nor will anyone else, pretty much, I am officially just basically coming around to dominate the rest of this race, it looks like. Excuse me. Anyways, through the chicane we go, pretty much the death chicane on the reverse course, and officially beginning the start of lap 10. I would imagine this event overall will very much be similar to Apricot Hill with the Roadsters, because that took somewhere just over an hour, and I'm pretty sure this one here will probably take somewhere over an hour, considering it did take me just over an hour and 10 minutes to win it. Apricot Hill. Already, I can say, because I am on the most durable tyres you can get in this game, I'm pretty much just driving away from the rest of the field. even though I am still driving terribly because I keep hitting the walls. But it's fine, because I am already 25 seconds clear of the pony car anyway, or the snack-named pony car as I should call it, because it's a Cobra and also a Mustang is a type of horse. Many people often refer to the Mustang as a pony car because, well, it's basically what the car itself was named after, a horse. Although I'm pretty sure it was also named after an American combat plane that was used during the Second World War. I think that's what officially led up to something new called the Mustang. And even though the interval is shrinking slightly, I'm pretty sure it will not be long before they have to pit in again, because they came in at the end of, I think, lap 7, and I would imagine because of the weight of these muscle cars is pretty high, I would imagine that's probably going to contribute towards why exactly the tyres are wearing down quite quickly. Fuck. Can I please concentrate and not just fucking rack myself around this course? I mean, just because I'm leading doesn't mean that I'm going to win straight away. I need my concentration face on, thank you. Oh, god damn it. Yep, okay. I should have known I was going to end up spinning this thing sooner or later. Although surprisingly, I don't get any wheel spin as I get going again. Although, it probably won't cost me too much because I'm starting to pull away from the rest of the pack up to this point now. The Mustang is still fighting hard with the Corvette for second position, and I'm pretty sure up to this point this is where my domination starts. Even though it looks like the leaders are starting to close in on me very slightly, I'm still pretty confident, to say the least, in mentioning by the time both the Mustang and the Corvette make their second stop, that will effectively hand the race lead over to me, and then it will only be a matter of time before I end up overlapping the Cobra. Because if he's going to keep pitting in every 2 laps like I suspect he will, then he is clearly going to be more than just a couple of laps down, methinks. And furthermore, yes, I did just notice that is a clock tower, methinks. Well, it's either a clock tower or it's a fucking cathedral. But it's most likely to be a clock tower, judging by what I saw. Anyways. Completing the 12th lap here. In Seattle. And ultimately, I can now say I am pretty much just left out on my own at the present time. So the Cobra pits in once again for what is now the 6th time in this race, and ultimately I am now way the fuck ahead of everyone else. Pretty much. You know, I could have basically done no tuning at all and I would still be leading this race. Although obviously I just did the tuning, you know, just to be sure of knowing what risks I was taking. Even though there probably wouldn't be a lot of risks I'd be taking because, well... fuck. Because, well... I don't think I'm going to do the same number of laps in the Corvette GS compared to what I did, of course, with the MX-5. Considering I went a total of 32 laps on one stint in that race, and ultimately the only thing that was really holding me back in those last couple of laps I did during that first stint at Apricot Hill, it was basically just me going pretty much too far on the tyres. Although oddly enough I did go far enough for both of my front tyres to be close to shredded, even though oddly enough my rear tyres were still in good condition. Well, I guess that just shows where exactly most of the tyre degradation is built up, and also how exactly it is structured. And I now set a new fastest lap of what is pretty much a 142 det. Even though it's pedantically a 141.993, realistically it's basically a 142. And officially, after another 7 laps, both the Mustang and the Corvette have pitted in once again for fresh rubber, and this is going to allow the Corvette Gran Sport to retake second position momentarily. And I'm pretty sure this event was also in GT2 when I used the Cobra, because if I can remember correctly, I used the Shelby Cobra at the Seattle 100 miles in GT2, and I won that event considering it was mainly just classic muscle cars I was going up against. You know, basically muscle cars from the 60s and 70s. Although this one is very much modernised because we are going up against much newer muscle cars in this. Considering obviously, in terms of cars overall, this game, unlike GT2, was not a rushed mess, and overall of course there weren't exactly quite as many cars in this game that there was in GT2. I mean, Gran Turismo 2 has over 600 cars. And well, as for this one, more or less about 500 is what me thinks, but I couldn't give you the overall number if you account for all versions of GT3, including the Japanese version, which does have some spare cars in store. Which probably does have some spare cars in store. I think one of those spare cars in the Japanese version would have to be the Lamborghini Diablo, as far as I know it is. again, I'm not going to dive into too much details over that. I'm not going to dive into too much detail over that. Although, at the moment of course, the Corvette GS's are leading this race 1-2. And if the Corvette Gran Sport keeps hitting in later than both the Mustang and the Corvette, he could very well finish this race in potentially second position. Although, giving the realistic odds, I don't think the Corvette Gran Sport is going to get too far ahead. But again, it's still quite an interesting battle going on for the second position, considering the Mustang is still fighting hard with the Corvette C5. Since obviously the two cars that are leading this are basically two of the previous models, the C4. And at the moment, of course, I'm doing very well in this event. And now my fellow Corvette GS comes into the pits. And I would imagine it will not be long before I have to pit in as well, because my left front tyre is showing some wear. And I would probably also say the same thing for my right front as well. But I will try and see if I can extend the stint as much as I can, so then for the final couple of laps I will have a fresh set of boots. And well, since there's a lot of right-hand turns on this course compared to Apricot Hill, which has a lot of left-hand turns, I would say with all of these right-handers, or mostly right-handers I should say, is putting most of my wear on the left front tyre, and officially, after only 17 laps, I have already overlapped the Cobra. And he is probably going to be way the fuck behind everyone else, considering he's pitting in every 2 laps. But officially, at the moment, the Mustang is actually proving, of course, to be competitive in this race, compared to earlier events where he wasn't even close to being competitive in this game. And at the moment, of course, I am leading this event by over 50 seconds. Considering obviously that is an estimation. Oh, fuck. Well, not really that much of a ordeal, because, well, I only really raced it just a little bit. And oddly enough, I did not boot the invisible wall. Is there. And is this going to be a new PB? Yes it is. By over 1/10 of a second. On lap 18. Did not expect that to come on worn tyres. Even though most of the grip probably came from the rear, because, well, my rear tyres are not wearing as much as the front tyres at the moment. I thought about using the Corvette Z06 for this event, but well, since I've already driven that in arcade mode, I just decided I was going to drive a car that I have not driven yet. Hence the reason why I chose the Corvette Gran Sport, and I was a little late on the brakes than I was anticipating myself to be, so I think it's pretty clear to say I'm not going to go as long as precisely 32 laps on this set of boots, considering this is a different type of wear and tear. Anyways, I don't know how many more laps I'll be able to get on these tyres, but I know for sure that I'm not going to do an entire race on this fucking set of boots. I will need to change them before too long. Anyways, I can safely say that I am now way the fuck ahead of everyone else. Ugh, my voice is gone. Well, guess I'll need to wait until I get onto the backstretch. Then I can get my fucking voice back. Yeah, it's not because I don't want to speak, it's just because my voice is facing dehydration. Oh, fuck. Even though I'm still not keeping my eyes on the road. Even though I am on one tyres in my defence, but, you know, still. I do need to concentrate a little bit more. Can I maybe get a drink and do this? No, not possible. I guess I'll just have to try and see if this will fall away. But officially, I am now well over a lap clear of the Cobra. Because even though the Cobra is actually pretty good around this circuit, the truth is, he does not have a chance in hell of winning this race, considering he will basically be putting in before everyone else, as he has done so many times up to this point. Anyways, lap 21, and I am already pretty much close to overlapping the Camaro now. And I think it's pretty clear to see what the battle is going to be between the Mustang and the Corvette. And the Corvette does now take second position, so that is still quite an epic battle going on there for second position the way I see it. These worn tyres are really affecting my steering. But again, I want to try and see how far I can go on this set of boots. So the Corvette does now retake the second position away from the Mustang. And I'm pretty sure up to this point that I know for sure once I have officially made what will probably be my first and only pit stop in this race. I think I'll go about 3 more laps on this set of boots, and then I'll just wait and see if I can make an overall decision. On knowing if I need to pit in again or not. But still, my lap times at the moment have really fallen off the pace. Although, I don't consider that to be a problem because, well, I'm basically well ahead of everyone else anyway, so, you know. it does not matter too much. And had to brake harder than I usually do, or else I would have probably gone straight into the Arcos if I didn't just literally lock up the brakes, considering that is literally something I had to do, even though ABS is one assist that is basically left on up to this point. And so both the Corvette Z06 and the Mustang pit once again, and I don't think the Corvette is... sorry, and no it does not this time, so the Corvette GS does not look like he's going to take second place, even though he might just be able to. Yes, he does. But I'm pretty sure he will not hold on to second place for much longer in this race, considering it will only be a matter of time before he has to pit. And I would imagine both the Corvette Z06 and the Mustang have got to make 2 more pit stops before they can get to the end of the race, it looks like. And even though the Corvette GS briefly takes second position, I know for sure he is not going to stay there. And even though it is fair to say that I am pretty much a long distance away from the rest of the field now up to this point, I'm pretty certain I will overlap the entire field at least once in this event. And so, here we go. Alright. So, looks as though the Camaro just slid a little bit there, but again, I too am sliding since I'm on worn tyres. This event itself clearly dominated by Chevrolets in terms of how many competitors we have, because pretty much 4 out of the 6 opponents in this race, including myself, are Chevrolets. And just diving down the inside of the Camaro, I now take away the I do now put the Camaro 1 lap down, even though he is pushing me. He's really giving me a push on the bumper. Even though oddly enough that was also the same Camaro Z28 that I drove. Here of course for what is probably the most one of the most irritating tests I've ever done in any of the GT games. And that was basically a License 7, pretty much way back to the early stages of this LP. And I think I can go potentially 1 more lap on this set of boots, just so that I know I don't have to change the tyres again. But there's no way in hell I'm gonna go as far as fucking 32 laps like I did with the Master, because that is pretty much a no-go. And at the moment, of course, the Camaro is actually staying ahead of me, but fortunately, however, it's not costing me too much time, the way I see it. And I think it's pretty clear to say the Corvette has now taken second position away from the Mustang up to this point. And I think that's the way that little kerfuffle is going to be sorted out. Can you just fuck off? Am I really that slow for you? Or are you just trying to piss me off? Do you just want to piss me off? Yep, okay. Yep, okay. I think it's fair to say these tyres by now are completely shredded. And I actually did a good job there to keep it off the wall. But I think it's pretty clear now that in order for me to pit, it needs to be this lap or no laps. I think it's pretty clear to say that I'm not going to overlap the Camaro on this set of boots. And officially, once again, after 8 laps of driving, the Corvette GS pits in once again. Even though the undercut is proving... Even though the undercut of pitting in every 7 laps is proving to be more beneficial than the 8-lap strategy that my fellow Corvette has, and I've gone as long as 25 laps on this set of boots. Although I am pretty sure by now these tyres are dead, so I need to pit in. My front tyres are pretty much dead up to this point, and this is where I now have a drink to try and revive my voice, since it just failed on me. Okay, that should do it. Alright, back to the action. And where, after 25 laps, I have officially made my first and only pit stop in this race. And I just take the inside one. Anyways, I am out here once again, and whilst I am racing on cold tyres, I'm pretty sure that I will eventually manage to catch back up to the Camaro before too long. Officially, I'm now back up into the lead once again. I lost it. But officially, I'm now on a much fresher set of rubber. Ultimately. I'm pretty sure the Cobra is not going to get his lap back, because it was basically a lap behind me anyway, even before I made the pit stop, so it wouldn't have really mattered too much, because he would have probably stayed a lap down anyway, had I not come into the pits at that time. But again, my front tyres were literally shot. I was not going to hold out for much longer on that previous set of boots. I think I might as well be clear on that. Anyways, here I am once again. Continuing to dominate this race whilst it is once again. Whilst it is once again another day of rain. Here in fucking England. I am basically in a city that is located in the state of Washington. So, 27 laps are now complete in this race, and ultimately we now have just 13 laps remaining. I've been driving for a total of 48 minutes now, so I would imagine this race will probably be at a similar time length to Apricot Hill, except for saying that obviously these cars are faster than the Miatas were as well. Anyways, I have caught back up to the Camaro Z28 once again. It's only now that I'm starting to build up my interval once again. Wouldn't completely surprise me if I don't overlap everyone in this race. Officially, it doesn't look like the Camaro is going to do anything about my Corvette GS this time, because I now have a much faster car than I did when I was trying to overlap previously. And just keeping it up in third gear so that I don't slide into the wall. Anyways, 29 laps are now complete, and the Corvette this time leads the Mustang in their two-way fight for second position up to this point. As of which I can now say I am ultimately way the fuck ahead of everyone else, and it doesn't look as though the Corvette GS is going to get so lucky this time, unfortunately. So he stays in fourth position, and it looks like that will probably be where he stays for the rest of the race. While for me, I am just continuing to dominate, as I have done for pretty much the past two endurance events. Well, for the third one, this is proving to be more or less the same. So, the Camaro Z28 now officially makes his second pit stop after 14 laps of driving. But again, because he simply did not have the on-track pace to keep up with the leaders, that is the main reason why he fell back. Anyways, we are nearly 30 laps into this race. I've already overlapped 2 cars in this race so far. Hopefully trying to see if I can overlap 3 cars in this race, which is basically most of the field. And it looks as though it could very well be the Corvette that wins the battle, that basically wins the battle between himself and the Mustang. I am still continuing my domination, and I now go much faster than my previous PB. 7/10 to be precise is how much faster I went on that lap. I can see the sun trying to beam through the clouds. At least that's the way it looks from my vantage point. Anyways, I think it's fair to say that I'm pretty much in a league of my own. It is a human league, and I went a little bit faster on that lap, considering I did manage to find the 10th, basically. But it's fine, because I'm less than a lap ahead of everyone else anyway. I think I over-revved it, but again, it doesn't matter to me too much because I know that I probably will win this event. So, we now have just 8 laps to go in this event. I'm now on my 33rd lap in comparison to everyone else, and I'm going to assume that is Cobra that both the Mustang and the Corvette are, well, the Corvette Z06 are going to overlap to avoid the confusion of the myself and the Corvette GS. so here we are. The domination continues. And officially, after just 57 minutes of driving, we now have, following this, only 7 laps to go. So the Corvette GS now comes into the pits once again, and that does mean, of course, that I will overlap my fellow Corvette before this race is done. So half of the field has now been overlapped here in Seattle, although dependent on knowing if both the Corvette and the Mustang pit in again. I mean the Corvette Z5 when I say that. But dependent on knowing if both the Corvette Z06 and the Mustang pit in again. That probably remains to be seen. Although, surprisingly at the moment, my car actually looks pretty clean. I mean, I don't know if it's just me, but I think my car does actually look pretty clean. Probably because I'm racing on a city course and not... Probably because I'm racing on a city course and not a fucking road course. Even though most of the circuits in this game are basically road courses anyway. Anyways, back to where the real action is at, and I am pretty sure that when both the Mustang and the Z06 have pitted in for what will probably be their final pit stops, methinks, that is ultimately when I will be able to overlap both of them. So, not far from overlapping both of them up to this point. So, following this lap, we now have just 5 laps remaining in this race. And got a little bit of oversteer there, which I'm also feeling the pins and needles in my foot, sorry, my left foot. As I've been here for pretty much over an hour now. And I really bounced off that curb. As in, like, I was just not concentrating where exactly the racing line was in comparison. So it's still a pretty close battle between the Z06 and the pony car, even though lots of other people would have expected this race to be said and done by now, between the Z06 and the Mustang, but no. For once, a fight that's actually been ongoing for second position. Even though I'm pretty sure it will probably be the Corvette in the end that ends up beating the Mustang, but the Mustang, in comparison to the other events I've seen him in, he is actually more competitive in this event than he has been in any other event when I've not used it. Because the Mustang has basically been near the back of the pack whenever I've seen it in other races and I've not driven it. Oddly enough, in this race, it's actually going pretty well. So the Mustang now comes into the pits, as does the Cobra, and he will probably go 2 laps down by the time this is finished, and ultimately I have now overlapped the entire field with just 4 laps to go. And so there we go. That is the entire field once again overlapped. For the 3rd time in succession. Alright, so after 36 laps of competition, and I just fucked up my entry to that corner, but anyways, after 36 laps of competition in this race, I can officially say I am pretty much home free. And oddly enough, the Cobra at the moment is actually helping the Corvette by staying ahead, by helping him to stay ahead of the Mustang. So I think that race has pretty much been decided now. I don't think the Mustang is going to close back up. I wouldn't think. But ultimately, even though the Cobra was quick for the first 2 laps, he had to pit in for a fresh set of rubber, and because the rest of us weren't really that far behind him in terms of overall lap time, the truth is, we still had the stronger tyres in the end. So I'm assuming the Cobra is probably running on simulation tyres if he's only gone 2 laps on each of his stints. Considering he's literally had to make as many as 20 pit stops during this race, or it probably will be 20 by the time I'm done with everyone else. Although, since I took the lead in this race, I basically left everyone else fucking dusty. And I did not think that power slide was going to keep me straight. And when I say that, I mean basically just keeping me straight as in not spinning me straight into the wall like I would have suspected it to. Fortunately not, however. Yeah, there is an invisible wall at that bus stop for some reason. At least at that second part of the bus stop. And we now have just 2 laps to go in this race. And so, the Cobra now pits in again for what will probably be, presumably, the final time in this race, because I've overlapped him twice. Even though I could be wrong, because coincidentally the Cobra has been pretty quick overall, he just hasn't had the tyres to prove that he can challenge us long distance. And again, with this race like it was like it was with the MX-5s. The fastest car in the field pitted in early, except for saying that obviously, regardless of how many pit stops the Cobra has made, he has not fought his way back up to second position, because I don't think the Cobra actually has that sort of handling characteristic that the MX-5 1.8 had. So basically he wasn't able to keep slicing his way through the field on every stint, and that ultimately was precisely what led to his downfall in this race, evidently speaking. Alright, final lap. This is pretty much where the money is earned. A little bit of a bounce there off the curb, but fortunately I don't think that one fucked me up too much from what I could make out, and officially I can pretty much say I am a long way up the road from everyone else. So everyone is pretty much going to finish one lap down, with the exception of the Cobra, because he will be 2 laps down. By the end of this race. But again, doesn't matter too much, because I'm going to exit the chicane and win the race in a time of 1 hour, 9 minutes and 38 seconds. So there we go. I win! And let's see how long it takes for everyone else to be finito. Alright, everyone has managed to finish finally, after the Camaro managed to stay just 1 lap down. So, once again, I overlapped the entire field, and also it was ultimately the Cobra that decided the race between the Mustang and the Corvette Z06. And 150,000 credits for winning, but in the end, it was the Corvette Z06 that beat the Mustang to second position. My fellow Corvette, the Gran Sport, finished in 4th position over the Camaro, and then at the back, because he kept pitting in pretty much constantly throughout that race. Ultimately, at the back, it was the Cobra. So, let's now get our prize car. Considering the Cobra was the only car 2 laps down in that race. What are we going to win today? Yo, we get the Paynos Esperante for winning this. Let's fucking go. Nice. Very nice. Alright, so there we go. Seattle 100 miles is now complete, and officially that is our 3rd endurance event done. And also the second one, and also the second event I've done in a single day. Anyways, let's now go over the stats. So 86.2% complete with the game now. And officially, this is our car that we win. It is the Paynos Esperante GTR 1. And by God, this thing looks amazing. I think that's meant to be the Road America logo on the front. Although, I don't know for sure, unless I can get a close-up view or something. But yeah, that's our prize car from the Seattle 100 miles. And in terms of kilometers driven, I drove 152.7 kilometers. And also furthermore, my car is still clean. Probably because it was a city course. Anyways. Which is also equivalent to around about just under 95 miles overall. But anyways, there we go. That was the Seattle 100 miles. Next time we will be doing... well, I don't know what we're doing next, but stay tuned to find out what the fuck that is.